Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. We've had some guests for the last weekend. I'm going to put a video up on YouTube. It's not really a high quality video, and so I'm going to put it up on YouTube and not bore you Vikings with it too much, but it's about making dirt and being able to make the move from city to country. Two different little things, but you guys will probably watch it on YouTube too and figure out, yeah, it's not the highest quality. But this one is in response to a question from a Viking Jarl, Greg. And he said he's having a hard time sourcing those 55-gallon drums for water, the plastic ones. And his question was, what did I think about his idea of using one of those huge trash cans on wheels, maybe covering it with plastic and duct tape and that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that. When I lived in Northern Virginia, DC area, we wanted to get some big water containers because you need a lot of water. You're supposed to drink, just sitting there in a corner of a room, a quart a day to stay alive. And really the rule of thumb is a gallon per person per day for drinking and preparing food. But you need more than that if you're going to talk about cleaning. I used to take a shower bath thing. I've talked about that in other videos, with about a gallon of water. And now that we have a bathtub, we splurge and we use 5 gallons of water, right? And we want to get to the point where we have a real shower, right? That we can use and, be more American about it, use more water. And so when I was in Northern Virginia, we needed water storage, and we couldn't afford to buy it. If you look at buying water containers like those behind me, or anything really, 5-gallon bucket, anything, it's very roughly $1 a gallon capacity that you have to pay for it. And, I wanted hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water, and I did not have hundreds and hundreds of dollars to buy plastic containers. And so we found 55-gallon white plastic drums, 33-gallon blue plastic drums, 33 or 35, and then like 13.5-gallon blue plastic drums, all of them at a Pepsi-Cola bottling plant in DC. And man, we got lots of them, lots and lots and lots of them. And so that's a source to look for, a bottling plant. I moved to Kansas and I wanted more. And we found a bottling plant in Kansas City, but they were using like cardboard boxes with big Mylar bags in them. And that's just not going to work for storing water. They didn't have the barrels, but then somebody turned me on to the local water treatment plant, and they got barrels every week with like concentrated chlorine in it that they would pour into the water, and we could get those for free. And so I started sourcing those. And then we moved here to the Ozarks, and we get these bad boys right here, which I really like. We started out buying, on some of my earlier videos you can find them, big round containers, round plastic containers. Matter of fact, let me show them to you, that were wrapped in cardboard, and they held honey. And we found a guy on Craigslist or something, and he was selling them for not very much money, $30 or something like that for 250 gallons, 300 gallons, something like that. When I get down here, I'll show you them. And then we found some square ones that were in cardboard boxes. Same thing, had honey in them. And so we bought both because, he didn't have a whole lot of either one. And so we got what we could get. And what we found out was that cardboard, even though it was wax-coated cardboard, it eventually deteriorated, fell off the barrels. And the round barrels, can you see those down there? We have 2 of them down there. There's one in the sunlight right there. That is, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but we're here. We'll show you. This is our ditch right along the side of the road so water doesn't run over the road. It rained really, really hard 2 days ago. And the day before that, and so the water is weeping out of this mountain and will continue to do so probably for a week. And so we have these right here. We had to put these in, And it's basically a big piece of PVC pipe and then a right angle, and so the water goes into it and goes out. And I learned that from a permaculture, Hepsulzer, somebody, the main permaculture guy, right? Sepp Holzer. And when you have a pipe like that coming out, sticks float to the edge of the pipe but don't go in it. They just kind of hit the edge and stop. So that works pretty good. Anyway, then we had those pipes going. We had to dig a big ditch in this road. We call it Hebrew slave labor. And put the pipe across, and then it comes out, down, and then over to our, we actually have two of them. It has since fallen apart, and we don't really know what we're doing. We just couldn't stand wasting all that water. So we were storing it in those round things, getting back to the story, that were in the cardboard boxes. And we had square ones too that were in cardboard boxes that eventually rotted off. And what we learned was a round container will hold the water, but a square container will not hold the water, and it kind of bulges and falls apart. And when you fill it up and it sits there and it gets hot, the sides just go and then it tips over and problems ensue. And we still have some of those square containers that we use for things here and there, but they're really not ideal. And so then we bought these white ones up here with the, right there, with the wire around them. And we source those at a Little Debbie outlet store. There's, you know, factory somewhere in the Ozarks, I guess, that makes Little Debbie's, and then they have Little Debbie outlet stores. And when they get too many of them, they stack them up outside, and they sell them anywhere from like $40 to $65, depending on the mood they're in and how many they want to get rid of, and that kind of thing. And we really like these. These can stack too high when they're full of water, and they lock in pretty good. But so these are sitting here. I have honey in them. I don't even know the condition of it. I'm going to let you see the condition before I even see the condition. Can you see? I don't even know if that worked out. But we have honey in there that we're trying to melt a little bit, get softer, pour it out. Then I'll take these to a car wash them out. You have to paint them black to keep the sunlight from getting in and turning your water to algae, right? And that's why those over there are painted black on the corner of the house. And I'll go over here and I'm going to show you one of these square ones that used to have cardboard around it. And so that's what we were doing, right? Now, Greg can't find things. So that's why I went through all that, because maybe you can find something else before you go to your trash can. And here's what I think are potential problems with the trash can. Huge trash cans are on wheels, right? Do those wheels penetrate the trash can? Because if they do, it's going to be almost impossible to seal when you have the water weight on there. Here's one of those that used to have cardboard around it, and I don't even know if there's water in here. Yep, it's full. But it gets kind of, see how it's bulgy, and if it's not perfectly flat, it'll tip over, stuff like that. But Greg was asking if you could use that trash can, big trash can, and I kind of know what he's talking about. If the wheel axle penetrates the trash can, you're going to have a real hard time sealing that. If it doesn't, then another potential problem I see is what kind of plastic is it? Now, I'm not one of these, you can't eat it, it's got GMO, you can't drink out of a plastic bottle, it'll kill you, BPA, or whatever people are worried about. But I don't know that I would want to store water for a long time in a non-food grade plastic container and let the sun hit it and it gets hot and chemicals start leaching out, you know, stuff like that into my water. I'd be wary about that. If it's, you know, food grade, that's okay. That's one thing taken care of. But then here's another thing with those trash cans. When you fill that thing with water, because water is heavy, 8-point-something pounds per gallon, what's it going to do to the sides of that container? Is it going to bulge it out? Then your lid's not going to fit right, you know, make it unstable. I don't know. Do you have a trash can like that that you put trash in? Fill it up with your water hose and see what it does. Put it in the sunlight. Let it get hot and see what it does. Now there's workarounds to that too, right? You could wrap several wraps of duct tape around it at key points to reinforce it, or even better, fiber reinforced tape, something like that. Sealing it is pretty important. Matter of fact, as long as we're doing a little walk around and talking about water, let's go look at my tub. This system over here, I talk about it a lot, but it's important, right? It's our water system for right now, is totally temporary. We were originally planning, you can see back there that there's 3 of those, I think they call them ICB totes. There's 3 of these here, and they're painted black so that algae doesn't grow. The better way to paint them, a brother of mine who has a YouTube channel, Off-Grid Victory, you can check him out. A better way to paint those is actually to remove them from the metal containers, paint them black, and then put them back in. It does work better. And I'm going to do that with these. I'm going to remove them, paint them again, and put them back in. What we were originally going to do with these was lift all 3 of them up on a water tower over here on the side of the house, and then flow the water in, you know, hook them up like a manifold thing, flow the water in, and then I would have gravity feed into my house. Well, I did some measuring, and those things are about 4 feet high, and it has to be below, the top of that has to be below the level of the gutter, right? And so when you put 4 feet down from there, it totally blocks the view from the porch. And I like sitting on my porch. It's still a little messy, but eventually it's only going to have 2 rocking chairs and a table on it. It's going to be a nice place to sit. And so then my friend at Off-Grid Victory, he's got a better system than I do. And he has 2 of these containers. You know, they have like a manifold hooking them up because they have, you can tell I didn't like move my props together for this video, but you're getting to see it for real. They have these spigots on the bottom right there, and you can hook all kinds of things together in a big pipe together and such. And so you can put like a manifold on so they all level. You fill it from one, but they all level up. And he has 2 of them. Now he fills his from his well. He doesn't yet have a rain catchment system that works very well. And then he has them flat on the ground, and then he uses a little inline solar-powered pump to generate water pressure. And that pump then goes to a cold water flow and an on-demand propane hot water flow. I'm liking that a lot better. And so we're probably going to get on that here most Ricky Tick. And I'm thinking I'm going to take these 3 containers here and kind of bring them straight out from the porch. And my wife said, that'll look ugly, it'll look rednecky, it'll look this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, nope. I think what I'm going to do, I still have this right here as siding that I put on the house. I think I'm then going to build a structure around them and side it, put a little roof over it, catch water from that roof too to go into the containers, but most of the water will be coming off the main roof here. And then it'll look like a little shed coming out instead of, you know, black containers sticking on the side of your house. And so I think that might work. It'll look like, when I was in California, we had these little sheds outside. We lived in townhouses, and we had these little sheds right outside that were trimmed just like the house, and they looked fine. And so I think I'm going to do that coming out here, and then use the Off-Grid Victory method of an inline solar pump, yada yada. And my wife said, you know, what if the pump breaks? I said, well, we'll buy 2. We'll have 1 in storage. What if, you know, because my wife thinks like I do, what if there's chaos and it breaks and there's no Walmart and yada yada? Well, then I'll build a water tower, put them up, and, you know, we'll do the gravity flow from there. But I think the inline solar pump connected to a on-demand hot water system will work better. So, sealing off the container. So right now what we do, this is a really jerry-rigged system. It just comes out of the gutter, that's a temporary pipe, into our container. That container's full. Can you see that? That container's full. So once that's full, we manually take the hose, put it down in here in a piece of PVC pipe into just this big trough that we actually bought to do a water birth, and then we used it for baptizing a couple times, and now we have something better. And so Now we just use it to catch the excess water, because you can't have too much water, right? I mean, look at these trash cans. We just filled little waste baskets with water, feed the dogs, water the chickens, you know, whatever. I don't have a spigot and a hose. And so we just, again, temporary, keep this on here. And this actually looks better than it normally does, but can you see the floaties? See these floaties? That's just pollen and stuff. But sometimes it gets a little grody, right? And mosquitoes can breed in there and stuff. And so you really want a tightly covered system. Trash can, you can probably tightly cover it, assuming it holds together with the weight. But again, I would look into the, whatever it is, BPA, BPH, whatever, you know, that stuff that people freaked out about a while ago. Can't drink out of an Algene bottle, you need a stainless steel bottle. Well, then they all switch to whatever that chemical is, free. Another thing to consider, a big Berkey probably gets that stuff out. I made a comment in a video talking about people living in the city, and I said, you know, the water runoff in a city is probably full of petroleum products, and, you know, you think a big Berkey filters that out? I don't know. And somebody said, Pastor Joe said a big Berkey doesn't filter it out. So I'm like, no, I don't think I said that. I think I was expressed doubt about that. Ouch. And so then I went to the big Berkey site and I checked it out, and they claim that they filter out 99% of petroleum products. My next question then would be, for how many gallons, right, till you clog your filter? You want to start with the cleanest water you can. Clean water in a clean container, kept away from sunlight, the water doesn't go bad at that point. You know, and you got to keep critters and stuff out of it. So that's the best I can do on answering the question about can you put it in a trash can. I'll tell you this, BPA or H, whatever that is, infested water in a trash can with bugs floating in it, you know, and leaves and twigs floating in it, is 100,000 times better than no water at all. So that kind of fits in with the do the best you can with what you got where you're at kind of thing, right? You need water. Something kind of popular out there is the water bob. You know, people are buying those things by the boatload. At first I thought it was stupid because I figured it would be like $30 or $50. It's not. I think I looked it up, it's $13 or $15. You can fill your bathtub with drinking water. Okay. Honestly, my bathtub, I'm thinking at High Prairie Acres, you know, where I have a real bathtub and real water coming in. I would fill up my bathtub with water and drink that water. I mean, my bathtub isn't nasty. You know what I mean? I would drink the water right out of the bathtub. I wouldn't even filter it. I wouldn't care. Yeah, there'd be a little bit of soap scum, you know, maybe sometimes in there, whatever. But, if, you know, so if you want to do something like that, that's fine. But you can't have too much water. So, good question. I hope that helped y'all. Like I said, we've got guests out here. I'm going to post a video on YouTube about it, and then we'll probably do an interview and things like that. Just trying to encourage people. I think most of y'all get it already. You know, if you want to move from the city to the country, you can. This family, I'll give you a little bit more insight. They were extremely urban a year ago, living in, as Chris says, living in the hood, and he meant it, in Southern California. And then they got out and they went to Arizona, and then they got inspired to move to the Ozarks. And so they're on their way to a little piece of land they bought, and they're just stopping over here for a while. And we're giving them the tour and the classes and, you know, that kind of thing. And so we've been busy with that. So if you feel neglected, I'm sorry, I'm back. Slow news day, right? Not a lot going on the surface, which means there's probably a lot going on the subsurface. Today's I got to look at my watch here. I think today's the 24th, isn't it? Time and dates don't really matter a whole lot here. Yep, today's the 24th. I read something last week about, oh my, a big CME or solar storm or something's coming today or tomorrow. you know, they say that all the time and nothing ever happens. There's some big exercise going on, you know, what would happen if a nuke went off in New York City, tabletop, maybe there's actors, I don't know. And, you know, there is some real reason to speculate when they have these, you know, sometimes when these horrible things happen, it turns out that, wow, there was an exercise on that very thing happening at the same time in the same place. And that's happened a little bit too much to make me comfortable. So people are looking at that for New York City area. Kim Jong-un from North Korea has some kind of big day coming up, I think on the 25th, so probably tomorrow, where people are thinking he might put a nuke in. And oh yeah, as long as we're here chit-chatting, because I like y'all, I'm a little confused. And I sent some feelers out to some people that used to be naval aviators, you know, flying fighter jets, F-18 Hornets off of aircraft carriers, and they didn't get back to me. But there's something weird going on with that Vincent. You know, if you watch, they said, yeah, it's steaming now. We canceled the exercise with the Australians, and it's going from Singapore to North Korea, and I commented on that. And then they had the missile test, and it blew up immediately, and everyone in the world assumed the Carl Vincent was in the vicinity. And as it turns out, it wasn't. It was down there by Australia doing an exercise, and so it made the White House look bad, and what made them look bad was they said it was moving. You know, Trump definitely gave the impression it was moving, and then the Navy releases a photo of themselves, of the aircraft carrier going through the Strait of Sunda down by Indonesia, and everyone's like, wait a minute. I thought it was steaming towards North Korea. It should be there already. And so then Sean Spicer does his little tap dance, you know, and looks bad and gets mad and yada yada. And I'm thinking, man, if I was the president, heads would roll. Unless I was doing it on purpose, but I've been thinking about it. I don't think they were doing like a deception operation, because you're not fooling the Russians or the Chinese where our aircraft carrier is. They know where it is. You know, that's their job to know. And if they want the North Koreans to know, they're telling the North Koreans. And so we're not fooling them. So why lie to the American people and the South Korean people, you know, provide them reassurance, okay, we're okay if Kim does something crazy, the Americans have force in the area. And so there was that, and then, then the Sunda thing came up, and it's like it wasn't there, and now they're saying, you know, it'll be there sometime this week or something like that. I don't know, it's just weird to me. Why are they doing that? I don't get it. Yeah, because Sean Spicer gave the idea, that's what it was. It got caught in the Sunda Bay, and everyone says, hey, wait a minute, I thought you said it was in North Korea. And so Sean does his tap dance, and then you're thinking, okay, it's going from there to North Korea with all due speed. And then they crash a jet in the Celebes Sea off the Philippines, off the Carl Vincent, which means, you know, it's kind of like do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And I'm just wondering what they're doing. Is the Navy messing with Trump? My daughter said, maybe the Navy's decided they're not going to play with Trump and they're going to do their own thing. And my wife and I are telling her, nah, that ain't going to happen. You know, that doesn't happen. That's stuff in novels, but that's not reality of what's going on. So there's something weird going on there. I don't have my finger on it. Maybe some of y'all do. Any of y'all former naval aviators or been on aircraft carriers, served on aircraft carriers, you might know. So that's the world. You know, next couple days could be exciting, could be boring. We're working on gardens and other things here. I hope y'all are doing well. I appreciate you, and do the best you can with what you got where you're at. All right, I'll see you out there.